Welcome back to The Charismatic Voice. The 66th Grammy Awards are fast approaching, and among the medal nominees is a cover of Iron Maiden's Phantom of the Opera performed by Ghost. Now, I have a personal goal of deep diving into every one of the nominees, but there is just one problem. I don't know the original yet. This is about to change. Let's get to it. Ooh. So we have some things that I've come to expect from Iron Maiden right away. And this is early Iron Maiden too. This is going to be before Bruce Dickinson. This is with Paul Di'Anno. I think Di'Anno or Di'Anno. Anyhow, first time for me really diving deep into his voice. But extra exciting was that very, very first guitar riff. It was extended. It has a soaring melody immediately. And it sounded like the vocal picked it up right when it first entered. That was cool. And then there's that drive that I've come to expect, right? Just from some amazing guitar riffs. And additionally, I like the way that they will sometimes break a little bit to build up a little bit more anticipation in the phrasing. Let's go back to the beginning. I want to point out a couple other things which are really building the excitement here at the beginning. So I love the way that there's rubato in that, meaning that it doesn't follow a really steady ticker, right? If we were going to do some sort of metronome, it's actually pushing a little faster and then slowing down in areas. We see this kind of thing all the time in classical music. It is super, super, super common, especially in Puccini. But in contemporary music, a lot of things are just set to click tracks, and it's become a little bit the bane of my existence. I want there to be a little more fluidity so that we can almost play with the heart rate of the listeners. If it's just too steady, I find that gets a little bit boring. However, it is way easier to produce. So I totally understand why having a steady click is very important, but I find it more exciting to have this kind of rubato. It's very melody driven. And I like the drive that gets in there. So right here, we had this like da-ga-da, 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 da-da, right? And that pattern is essentially expanded on a little bit later to the point where you have a running feeling, and then there's like a quick like take back and check there in that pattern. And later that, I believe that take back check is basically twice as long. It's essentially given us a kernel of an idea and then expands on it right afterwards. It makes it a very logical progression and something that our ears are going to digest a little more easily then because of that logic. There's that extra take back. And a little extra on that one too. An extra hit.
I'm a listen up for you now, you won't get away from my grace. You've been listening like hiding behind that false face. And you know that I know that you ain't got that to last. You look like your feelings are just the remains of the pain. You're standing in the wings there, you wait for the curtain to fall.
This is so hard to listen to his voice and not just think about what would Bruce Dickinson sound like on this. I'm so used to hearing Bruce Dickinson in Iron Maiden's music, and that for me has got to be one of the greatest combinations ever. But I think that we need to take a step back and remember, like, there are good things about all kinds of professional singers. Just because I'm going to have an inherent preference for Bruce Dickinson does not mean that Paul Di'Anno isn't a great singer on his own. So I'm going to try and point out some of the great things that I hear happening in there, and also talk a little bit about the things that I find myself wanting a little bit of. Let's go back. First of all, that melody just goes blasting by, and he's really good with the pitch of it. I might have gone back too far.
I'm a listen up for you now, you won't get away from my grace.
And one thing that's really interesting to me is that they both have a very similar vibrato. It's a little bit of a slower vibrato. One more time.
I'm a listen up for you now, you won't get away from my grace. You've been listening like hiding behind that false face.
And I like the way he's adding a little bit of a drive, like a little bit of distortion on the sound, to help that voice cut through a little more. I find that this kind of music, because you have these legendary soaring guitar riffs, I think that the voice has to also just soar. And I hear that even though there are fast words in there, there's a continued legato in the vocal line, meaning that it is ever present. It's, I think, just essential for their sound to have that kind of presence. Cool use of short harmony. So Paul has just a little more of this nasal focus. Like if you took a little bit of Ozzy and inserted that into Bruce, essentially, we get this a little more snarl, but specifically with nasality in his sound. Whereas Bruce he's just got a really hefty sound. He can move it in all kinds of places in his vocal tract, but it is hefty, and there's almost always some sort of a little bit of dome that's going to be present. Paul Di'Anno here is bringing a little more focus right here to the sound and losing some of that dome. So it goes to just like this almost round snarl extra cut.
Standing in the wings there, you wait for the curtain to fall. Knowing the terror and holding you have on the soul.
That's so many words to get through really quickly. I was reading the lyrics ahead of time on this one and wondering, why is this Phantom of the Opera? I know that from what I've read in prep work, this isn't actually from the musical. By the way, Phantom of the Opera is a musical, not an opera, guys. Please don't go approach an opera singer and say, yeah, I've seen an opera. And when they ask you which one, say Phantom of the Opera. That is nails on a chalkboard to any opera singer. It is a musical. Thank you very much. Okay, I got a soapbox on that one. Oh man. Anyhow, so I was wondering why this had the same name as the musical, and it is not from the musical in any way, but it is inspired by it. It's like almost like fan fiction, like Oh my gosh, like Twilight. Oh gosh, why is that the one that popped into my head? Oh no. Oh gosh. Anyhow, it's basically fan fiction, and the story has a similar thing where you've got the phantom kind of watching the girl from afar. Slightly creepy, y'all. So anyhow, I read through the lyrics, and they are very, very story driven. They go by very quickly too, and it's hard to get lyrics like that out in a way that translates into our brains really quickly. They have to be so easy to understand to actually get in there to our inside skull mush. Back one more time.
You're standing in a Wednesday, you wait for the curtain to fall.
Gosh, I do wish they were a little bit more snappy too, those lyrics. I think that's not just on Paul. I don't particularly like actually the reverb that's put onto his vocal there. I think it makes it a little difficult to understand the words. It feels a little bit late as well. Then again, this is recorded a while ago. Obviously, this is a remastered version. But this is one of those moments when I'm missing Bruce Dickinson a little bit. I think he's got to be one of the best out there, truly the best at getting lyrics across. Now, that's not to say that Paul Di'Anno is doing a bad job. It's very good still already. There's also so many pitches. It's going by so quickly. But yeah, I think I'm missing Bruce just a little bit. Okay, gotta keep going. He has got really good cuts.
You're standing in a Wednesday, you wait for the curtain to fall.
Just gonna go back one more time on that note. I swear, it's so fascinating. I think that the rate of vibrato between Paul and Bruce is so similar. Why that is, I don't know. It's generally a slower rate than I would expect in a lot of metal music. But I guess it just really works with the band. Maybe that's some sort of weird groove that falls into. I don't know. It's so strange. Love the harmony writing there. It's very angular, and it really works with that sort of take back that I was talking about in the music as well. Really beautifully written harmonies and executed harmonies as well. That moment in there. I wonder what would have happened to Iron Maiden if we had more moments like that. Like that reminds me more of a Led Zeppelin or even Dio kind of insertion. Doesn't feel particularly as Iron Maiden to me. That is interesting. Man, so fascinating how singers can shift the entire direction of a band. I mean, there's an entire future here that you have to think about what would have happened if we'd continued this way. Anyway, we'll keep going for now. Ooh. Whoa, I'm going to go back one more time to catch that transition. Ooh. Now, those harmonies and the way they entered, I think also the particular writing of them reminded me a little bit of Queen, which is fascinating. I guess that makes a little bit of sense there. I'm sure there's some influence happening. The big shift in the tempo there was really, it just felt like it was flawless, seamless. It just ran straight into that sound. One more time, just back a little bit here.
Just walk away, don't take it, baby. Don't you stray, don't fade away, yeah.
So he sounds like he has a little bit more of a blues background with his voice. And I think that like we need to take a moment and say that not necessarily this isn't better or worse, it's just different. That was a saying I learned when I was going to be an exchange student in France at the young age of 18. Going to France, like you have to learn when you go and you live in another culture, things aren't necessarily better or worse. Often they're just different. And I feel that there's a very big difference in where his voice is coming versus where Bruce's voice is coming from. That feels like there's more bluesiness in the entire performance.
Keep your distance, walk away, don't take it, baby. Don't you stray, don't fade away, yeah.
Fun diphthongs.
Watch your step, these are to get to come up, yeah. Don't you stray from a narrow way, yeah.
Almost every time that he's doing this little like yo-yo up, he's doing it on a diphthong. He's using those two vowels in the diphthong sound really, really well to do that little, I called it a yo-yo or a yodel. It just goes like, whoa, essentially. It's really, really, really cool. Nice use of that. Ooh. Oh, this is so bluesy. If I'd heard just that section, I would never have guessed Iron Maiden. I love this. I love getting to go back in bands' histories and see where they've come from. Oh my goodness. Like that was so bluesy. And you can hear that in Paul's voice, you had that bluesiness also in there in the sound. Whoa. It loses that drive, power metal, just blast through. Oh man. What a revelation. Ha! Okay, back just a little bit. I'm sure we have another transition coming up here. Lots of transitions. Ooh. Nice, off-kiltered. The moment that transition started, there's like some little child inside of me that got really excited because it just reminds me of video games. Anytime I hear something that reminds me of video games, I'm like, yeah, I'm a gamer. You guys probably knew that already. But just in case you were wondering which transition so far has been my favorite, definitely this one because the game child inside of me is jumping for joy. This also reminds me of minimalism, which is such a cool compositional technique and movement. Well, I adore they're like little fills where it suddenly feels like something runs off the map and then circles back in on the other side of the screen. Oh, really, really fun. I also like the way that once we got some deeper, lower sustain sounds, the whole thing just filled out. It expanded, but it still had all the little fun, just running video game like Space Invader parts were still happening. Back just a little bit. We'll keep going. Oh, it's so cool. This is such a cool evolution. So this feels more progressive than a lot of the Iron Maiden stuff that I've heard later on. This instrumental journey in particular is really interesting to me because they're doing this thing where they'll draw your attention one way and then they'll let something that's been going on for a while sort of go into the background. And then there's another part that maybe faded out a while back that comes in and re-grabs your attention. So you're always almost on these loops. They're getting grabbed and grabbed and grabbed and grabbed. And in that way, it progresses without ever losing us. It feels so well knit together. It's like crocheted and just tons and tons of loops. Back just a little bit. We'll keep going. Another loop. And they're rehashing a melody that we heard before that was very, very catchy before as well. It also is interesting to me that often you're having one thing overlap the next, and there's that crocheting, that idea of stitching things together. But I find sometimes I've actually wanted my ears to clear a little bit. So what would happen if there's a big build, a drop, and a re-entry? And I think that this is just something that probably wasn't done as much with their sound at this time. But I think from my 2 cents, I feel like, oh my goodness, it would be so cool if it had this bit like, and then went back into that melody we just heard. Let's go back one more time. Yeah, very progressive. Great transition again. It just drives us straight into it.
I'm running and hiding in my future, always there. If I remember the ugly
was a really fun slide up. Oh, I really like that side up for the subject matter too. Nice. It is such an unusual and not square set of rhythm and a melody that is this initial riff, this initial line that I think people probably hum when they come back to this. It is not standard by any means, and so repeating it more and more helps us to get into that particular unstandardized groove. Back a little.
I'm running and hiding in my future, always there. You're the phantom of the opera, you're the devil, you just have to stay.
It's really well supported on that slide.
My soul is just close to the end. You want me, you told me, you talk to me back at your lair.
Whoa! Was that the end? I feel like there's more time on this. There should be more. No, okay. There was a really, really cool like pew pew that happened at the end that just reinforced my whole Space Invader theory. I love getting to see where a band has come from. There were so many hooks and turns in there that I wouldn't have expected considering Iron Maiden's current sound. And I also loved getting to hear Paul, but my brain the entire time, I swear, it just had this imprint of Bruce Dickinson, and it was like trying to put Bruce's voice over Paul's. I just feel like it probably wasn't even fair. But I will be going to see that cover now that Ghost has done. I'm going to do analysis of that. If you want to see some more analyses videos of current Grammy nominees, you can check out this playlist over here. And may you fall more in love with music every day.